Well, with me is Will, who is going to be talking to me about his poetry, but it's so much more than that. This is an inspiring story of, having an issue that you weren't expecting, Will, in your life coming your way, and this is about an accident
Yeah,
that changed your life,
100%.
and how poetry has brought you out. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back and you maybe tell the viewers a bit about what happened, without obviously, just as you feel comfortable with.
Yep.
What happened on that day? How long ago was this?
So it was 3 years ago. Well, it was Good Friday 2018. So it was just over 3 years ago. And I was involved in a road traffic collision where I was hit by a car travelling at speeds of around 60 miles per hour. I was then obviously admitted to hospital through absolutely fantastic paramedic teams and everyone involved. To be honest, I often, when I am talking about this, I often refer to myself as the luckiest loser because I was obviously a loser and I went through it, but everything after going through it couldn't have gone better.
Okay, but this was not an easy ride. 7 weeks in a coma, I hear, wasn't it?
Yeah, 7 weeks in
Induced coma.
medically induced coma, yeah.
So that's a long
Yeah, that's
time.
quite a long.
Yeah, for everyone. I mean, of course, you don't know anything about it, of course.
No, that's the thing. I've just been told by my parents, who were there every step of the way, and my close family that knew everything about it, and they were cornerstone to my recovery.
So you wake up, like time stopped for you, and clearly things weren't working as they were before, right?
Yeah, no.
Can you tell us about that?
So I woke up, and my brain was like a clean slate. It was no human ability. I couldn't use a knife and fork. I couldn't walk. It was quite a horrible place to be in, and the way I described it to psychologists in Alderhay when I was over there was I began physically right down here, but mentally I didn't know anything. I was still the 15-year-old that I was always. 14,
you got your memories,
15-year-old.
or is that wiped as well?
No, they were wiped.
Oh my!
So I was just a 14, 15-year-old lying in a hospital bed for some reason. But then, as time went on, physically I started to improve. I worked extremely hard at physiotherapy, but mentally I hated myself because I couldn't do the things I used to be able to. So it was like a slow but sure, like opposite change. Almost.
You had to retrain your brain, did you?
Yeah, I had I can't express my gratitude for the NHS and what they did to me, both over here and across at Alderhay. But I had help in every field, but it was a real journey for me, and it was such hard work. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. It was just the uncertainty behind everything. So, first of all, life, the uncertainty of whether I would live. Then I woke up. Then the uncertainty of whether I'd walk. The uncertainty of whether I'd be able to use my arms. It was everything. It was such a cloud of just uncertainty, as I say.
And we're going to talk about mental health issues here, basically, because you didn't feel too good about yourself at one stage.
No, I felt at my lowest. I would say I was about as low as a human being can go before escalating it to action. I got to the stage in hospital where I believe I said things that I regret saying, but I said things to my mother like, I don't see the point in me being here anymore. I don't want to live. I didn't. It was so uncertain that there was no vision, and I believe human beings need a vision to operate on, whether that
so
be
you had
small.
you couldn't see anywhere in the future.
Exactly. The light at the end of the tunnel
Yeah.
was black. There was no, you might be discharged in a couple of months. There was none of that. It was, you need to get better. You need to focus on today because you might not get tomorrow. And it's scary, but getting through it and looking back on it, I'm extremely proud of myself and where I've brought myself to.
Oh
so
my
far.
goodness! I mean, you're walking, you're talking,
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
doing things, and this is where we're going to come to. You found poetry.
Yeah, so I discovered my liking toward poetry because I was slowly descending into a mental state of unwellness. So I started thinking I need to get these thoughts out of my head. I can't have them just festering in my head. So I'm going to write them down. So I wrote them down and I typed them up onto my Google Docs. And suddenly I started seeing some of them might rhyme. And I thought, oh, that could maybe be something.
So you wrote it just as notes, and then you realised afterwards that you were seeing a pattern.
Exactly. I was
Wow.
like, hang on, this could be something. Let's try and play with this a little bit.
Yeah.
And then a couple of hours, and then I'd have maybe a 10, 12 liner. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's carry on, let's go with this. So then when I got in hospital, obviously you've not got loads of places to go. So you're lying in bed, you're just festering, and you think, oh, I don't want to be here, let's write that down. I don't want to be here, some ear. And it just starts rhyming. And then it's just one thing leads to another. And eventually I've got, I'd say, a couple of hundred scrapped notes, and it just leads to another, and I get a couple of good poems out of it.
Let's have. You got 3 you're going to read. Let's say the first one.
Yeah. So this
is there any background to this before you read any of these?
So this poem it's titled Darkness, and I wrote this at the lowest period of my mental health. So it hits home a little bit to me because it takes me back a little bit, but I can understand that I've got through that, and I'm happy to read this and explain what happened. So, ultimately, the amount of hope is minimal. All of my thoughts become subliminal. Not the actions, but why they are done. Overall, I've been beaten, and he has just won. Taken Will Blissett, and whether you agree, you cannot deny it's not the same old me. The accident changed me in so many ways. Uncertainty raging, I was lost in a maze. My thoughts, they diminished, blackness in seconds, that awful moment when it eventually beckons. I hate to say it, it's a weak way to go, but I sometimes feel this accident I can never outgrow. At the end of the day, if you see the world through my eyes, all you see is people telling you repeated lies. It isn't enjoyable, believe me in that. If anyone can disprove me, I'll take off my hat. I'm unwanted from every perspective. If you're the criminal, consider me the detective. That's the only analogy that I can give for the way my friends see me and how I now live.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, it is quite deep, isn't it?
And was that one of your first ones, is it? Or was
Yeah, that was one of the earlier.
Off camera, you can't see Mum, who's almost in tears, I think. I'm bringing me to tears, gosh. How's it changed your life?
In every way imaginable. Like, I am now 17, going on 18. I was back then 14, going on 15. I was a normal 14, 15-year-old lad. As every 14, 15-year-old lad does, I thought I was invincible. I did what I wanted. I acted up, I did this, I did that. And now, I'm a 17, 18-year-old lad. I like to think of myself as still fairly normal. Could be questioned, but...
You are fine, man. You are doing really well.
But it's the amount of caution and thought I put into every action I make now to prevent something like this ever happening again is beyond belief, and I can't express enough. Like when, for example, it's a very mundane activity, but say going out with my friends, if we go out and have a football match or something like that, it's not as easy to me just jumping in my mate's car and driving down to the football pitch. It's thinking about what can go wrong, how do I stop it going wrong, and then acting upon what my thoughts are. So it's changed everything. I take medication, which is mundane at the end of the day, but it keeps me alive, and I think I'm on about 14 tablets a day, which at a 17, 18-year-old lad, it's not helpful by any means, but it's what I take to live, so I'm more than happy to take some tablets to live after what happened, and it's just, I can't put into words how much it's changed my life, because it's rotated everything ever so slightly. So it hasn't changed anything categorically, but it's changed everything slightly.
Wow.
And I'd say that's the best way to put it.
Okay, well, we'll just take a break. There's part 2 of this interview coming up, where we've got 2 more poems coming up, so
Yeah.
look out and join us for part 2.